All right, my lovelies, welcome back to another Growth Mindset Hack series, continuing from yours truly, Rebecca Pebble. I realized I had more left to do than I thought because I only have 10 types and there's 16, so I'm going to knock out another 2. And for today, we have the ESFJ and their shadow, the ISFP. And of course, the shadow of the ISFP is the ESFJ. Oh, Capo decided. Capo's decided to join me on this one, so forgive me if stuff starts moving around. And I forgot to lock my screen, so it might get blurry in parts. So I apologize about that as well. So these are the 2 types we'll be focusing on. Before I get started, I do want to reiterate that these are just suggestions. These are quick and dirty overviews. This isn't really in-depth psychology. And also that it is good to, of course, lean into your saviors. But also, oh my goodness, she wants to rub on the marker. Yeah, she is going to steal the show. Of course, it's good to lean into your saviors because I do believe that shows you your purpose and you're made for a reason. But this is also to show you that if you want to become a more well-rounded individual, how you can achieve that. Just kind of like a quick hack for achieving that. All right, so to get started, let's talk about the function stack of the ESFJ. So ESFJs, you have extroverted feeling as your dominant function, which is FE. And I'm going to just give like a word or 2 on each of these functions. This is how you prefer to move through the world. And this essentially, oh my goodness, this is a lot of chaos. Thankfully, your EJs and IPs, you don't probably mind this, but some other types this might drive them a little crazy. This is for your entertainment. I call this connecting. This is big on connecting or connecting with people, empathy, warmth. You can read rooms really well. I'm an FE Dom, so I definitely understand what this is, and I'm doing it all day, every day, without even realizing it. This is like your water if you're a fish. You love people. You probably love helping them feel included. You probably feel weird talking about yourself. There's just a lot to this. And of course, if you are interested in this and you're new to Jungian psychology and like cognitive functions, I do suggest you Google this stuff and get some depth. And if you need any suggestions for channels, I can send some your way. So next you have SI, which is introverted sensing. Capo's rubbing on it again. This is going to be special. This is going to be the special Capo edition of this series. So introverted sensing, it deals with the past. I'm going to say traditions, comfort. So you probably relate to things. You could probably connect things from the past to the present and the future. Oh my gosh, yeah, it is going to get blurry in parts. I do apologize for that. Your next function, I'm just going to keep this moving along because I don't know how long I can do this with Capo here interrupting, is NE, which Capo might be an NE Dom. She's all over the place. This is extroverted intuition, and I like to call this the brainstorming function. Oh my goodness. I can't even see the paper anymore. Okay, there we go. This is where you connect abstract ideas. So instead of saying from like point A to point B to point C, you might go from A to C to Z to D and all over the place. So you're really good at connecting abstract ideas. And then your last function would be TI, which is introverted thinking. And this is basically, I'm going to say your why or your reasons or your subjective logic. So it's really deep. So if you're an ESFJ, your shadow would be an ISFP. Now, if you're an ISFP, which I'll move on to here in a second, your shadow is going to be the ESFJ. Because you'll see, once I get into these functions here, that where this is extroverted, the ISFP will have it introverted, and where it's introverted, the ISFP will have it extroverted. So it's kind of like a fun inverse of the other. So if you meet your shadow type, sometimes it's really interesting. You can kind of sense like there's something there because they're like you inside out, basically. So they do your weaknesses really well and vice versa. So the shadow of the ESFJ is the ISFP, and their first function would be introverted feeling, or FI. These are what I call self-values, things that they really appreciate, really love, big time, like They know what they love very deeply, and it means a lot to them, and they stick to these values. It's so important to them. Whereas the ESFJs, I'm really thinking about like the group. This is more about self. Not to say it's selfish, it's just, it's a whole different way of what you value. Whereas FE is more about harmony, so it might sacrifice self for the harmony of the group. FI is going to stick to its guns for the most part and fight for what it believes in. So next, it would have the extroverted function of sensing, which is SE, or extroverted sensing. I like to call this kind of like the present moment. This is all about the five senses. I'm going to say five senses. The here and now, kind of how things appear. A lot of artists, I mean, they can be SI, of course, but are really good with SE. People like fashion designers or interior decorators would be good at this because it's just being in the moment and knowing how things appear to in the outside world, really. Next, they would have the introverted version of extroverted intuition, which would be introverted intuition. Excuse me, can't talk all of a sudden. NI. And NI is like a psychic function. I'm going to call it the future function, but it's able to linearly see patterns. So the brain starts to like realize, okay, in a very linear function, like I've seen this and this and this and this, and so therefore this is what's going to happen in the future. It's really freaky sometimes, so they have that gift. And then their last function would be extroverted thinking, which I call systems thinking or systems building. It's good with structures, organization, those sorts of things. So if you're an ISFP, this is your shadow. I think I've said that before, but just so you know, you would like take these four and put them underneath you as your shadow. So how can you work on, if you're an ESFJ and you're thinking, okay, well, what do I need to do to kind of be a more well-rounded individual? Well, what you would do is work on your shadow functions, kind of build them up a little bit, but I'm just saying incorporate them. I'm not saying completely change yourself. Please don't do that, because this is what makes you so beautiful, are these strengths that you have up here. Same with you ISFPs. This is what makes you so beautiful. I would never say, oh, become an ESFJ or ESFJs become ISFPs. That's not it at all. But yes, it's helpful if you're an ESFJ to kind of start with maybe around your fourth function, or maybe where you feel weak. Maybe you feel weak with your brainstorming, but typically the top three are fairly solid. So I would say for you ESFJs, let's go over here. I would start here and work on all of these. So I'm going to say ESFJ areas for growth. So you might want to find some ways to think of your reasons for things, because FE and TI are on opposite poles, so it's hard. If you have this bulked up, this is a baby TI, and vice versa for lead TIs. They have this bulked up, so this is a little bit smaller, and they have to work on connecting with people, the tribe. So kind of dig into your why. Why do you believe things? Why do you feel strongly about things? What are your reasons? I should add this, which is what why means, right? But just what are your reasons for doing things? And I think that'll help you know, it'll give you a better self-identity, which brings us to our next part, ESFJs. And I can relate to this so hard right here, because since I'm lead FE, I have FI down here too. What do you love? What do you want? Kind of get a little selfish, I think, ESFJs. I think that's okay, because you're probably very self-sacrificial by nature. So this should be just fine if you just dig into what you want out of life and what you love. Next, you might want to try to work on mindfulness. I think that would be helpful. Being present, kind of thinking about how you appear in the world, or maybe your home, kind of tidying things up and getting things to where you feel presentable, which I'm sure you do, but you're more into comfort. I think with SI is like very like snuggly. I think of an SI home as something that would have a lot of like blankets and things that feel soft, and SE might not care so much about the comfort, but is more about the looks, which is interesting. Stereotype, but you know, just an example. Next, the NI, you might want to, since you're typically kind of connecting abstract ideas, try to work on maybe seeing if you can see linear progressions in the future and more of a linear thinking. I don't know exactly how you would do that per se, but just something, and you can always, again, Google introvert intuition and see what they suggest to help you work on that. And then, of course, the last thing would be systems building, which is my last thing as well. So I struggle with this as well, kind of like organizing, spreadsheets, all that jazz. This is something that you probably struggle with, and if you build this up, oh my gosh, you're going to just be so well-rounded. Now, for my ISFPs, you're the opposite. So you're going to start with your fourth function down here and then these four. So we're going to say ISFP area for growth. And so just like I said with the ESFJs, you're going to want to work on your systems building, like I just mentioned, all those things of like organizing, spreadsheets, logistics. Yay! I don't do well with this personally, so if anyone has a hack for this, if there's a TI Dom watching or someone with Savior TE watching that can give us tips on how to work on this, that would be glorious. I would appreciate that. And that would be people like ESTJs, ENTJs, and I'm trying to think of who would have the second. I can't think off the top of my head right away, but anyone that has a second as well. Maybe like an ISTJ, yes. And an INTJ, maybe, I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. So ISFPs, your area for growth, you're going to want to consider the group a little more than maybe you have, because you're usually in your head and knowing who you are, but now it's time to connect and get that warmth, get that love from the tribe and connect with them and play with the tribe a little more if you're not already. Next, you might want to think about maybe creating your own traditions and trying to connect things to the past so that it can help you with the future. Oh, Capo says hi again. And then brainstorming this is fun. This is kind of just connecting random things. I always suggest to people, if you haven't taken an improv class, because I'm an improviser, this is a fun way to practice that muscle. It's scary if you don't like being in front of people, but my goodness, it'll stretch you and it's so much fun. And then last but not least, TI, you're going to want to work on your reasons as well. Oh my gosh, she's back for the ending of this video. So that is it. I'm not going to go into much more detail because this is just a simple and quick way you can kind of become more well-rounded in your type. If you're not sure of your type, I always recommend people go to either 16 Personalities and take it and read about the type, and then there's a website that I love called typeinmind.com, where they break down types by functions. And I think if you read that, you can really get a better idea of your type. Because sometimes with the Myers-Briggs test, like 16 Personalities, it's such a broad overview. This gives you the deeper dive. That's what I'm trying to say. Goodness gracious. And so it goes into the functions. Chaos. I am a life coach. I would like to wrap it up by saying, well, thank you for watching, first of all. But if you want some life coaching, maybe to dig into your type and to your goals and dreams, and you want a cheerleader, because I love connecting, because this is my lead function. I'm an ENFJ, but still, this is what I do best. Please email me, RebeccaPebble@yahoo.com. And I have a website. If you'd like to see more of what I do, it is RebeccaPebble.com. And I'd love to meet you over there. If you would like to see more of my other creative stuff, I have books, I do acting, music, writing, blogs, and different things. So there's a music blog over there that's fun. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I hope you all are having a great week, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye guys.